My name is Jill Summerlot. I'm the webinar coordinator with InSource. I've been here for approximately 23 years. And so today we're going to talk about tips for preparing for the holidays. Really kind of some important information, especially as being a parent of a child or young adult with disabilities. It does help to know that there are some tips and tricks out there. So let me introduce to you my co-host, Lisa Paddock. For those of you that have been with us all year long, you know that Lisa is my co-host, and I couldn't do my job without her. So without further ado, this is Lisa Paddock, and she is going to introduce our special guest we have today.
Thank you, Jill. Yes, as Jill stated, I'm Lisa Paddock. I'm one of the assistant directors at InSource and the central team lead. And I appreciate Jill being our webinar coordinator. She is fantastic. And today we have a special honor. We're so excited as the holidays are coming up. Jill and I talked about maybe it would be really helpful to bring on some experts to help families prepare for the holidays. So here at InSource, we are the Parent Training Center for Indiana. And as Jill mentioned, we receive state and federal funds to provide training and resources and help to family and community members around special education and resources to support students, children with disabilities. So we thought it would be great to have some discussion about the holidays. They can be fun, they can also be stressful, but many times if we prepare ahead, it helps. And that is what brings our two wonderful presenters to us today. So, Adria Newsom is a research assistant with the Indiana Institute on Disability and Community. She writes for the monthly newsletter circulated by the Indiana Resource Center for Autism, where she shares her experiences of life as a young adult living with autism. She also guest lectures classes at Indiana University and speaks to other organizations about autism, both from a clinical and personal perspective. In addition to ASD, Adria was diagnosed with multiple developmental disabilities in childhood. When she's not at the Institute, she also writes a quarterly column on autism and developmental disabilities for Bloomington's Bloom magazine and can frequently be found swimming laps at the pool or listening to Taylor Swift. So, Adria, welcome.
Thank you so
And
much.
then we have Amy Gaffney, and she is an educational consultant and speech language pathologist with the Indiana Resource Center for Autism. She specializes in structured teaching and executive functioning. She brings to her presentation experiences she has learned as a professional over the last 25 years, as well as experiences from being a parent of a child with multiple disabilities. Amy presents nationally and internationally and has co authored chapters in 3 books. When not at work, Amy enjoys traveling and all things Disney with her family. So at this time, I will turn the presentation over to you, Adria and Amy, to share with us about things that everyone might be able to consider to do to prepare for the holiday season. And if anyone ends up with questions, they can put them in the chat and I'll be monitoring it to be able to ask um, the questions when they arise. And Jill will be monitoring our Facebook Live. So at this point, I will turn it over to both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I appreciate the nice welcome. And I will tell everyone now that oh, are you still seeing my hand? No, did we lose the screen?
We just lost the screen. We had it before.
See, this is why, Adria, you should be doing the technical side of it.
I don't know that I should either.
Well, I will get this up.
Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely fine.
Here we go. Okay, is that better?
We have it now.
Have us now. Okay, fantastic. Well, I was going to say that yes, we are going to talk about, obviously the Christmas holidays and Hanukkah and all the winter holidays are coming. But we are also going to be talking about holidays because they happen all year round now. There are so many things that we have to celebrate throughout the year. So we're going to give you some tips just to hopefully use throughout the year. And just again, I'm Amy Gaffney. My colleague here, Adria, and I are just gonna probably have a conversation. We have some things to share with you, just things that have helped us, things that we've heard other families have tried that have helped. So with that, we'll get started. And the first question probably is, why are holidays? Why are they so challenging? I think we sit back every year and like, oof, that was a lot. And so I would say that a couple of things that came to mind for me is holidays can be challenging because it's a change in routine. And we know that a lot of our kiddos and a lot of us as well, we might talk about a lot about children, but this is definitely not just a child thing. This is an adult thing. This is a all through the lifespan. Holidays can be challenging. So it's a change in routine for all of us. We can be unsure of when something will happen. Sometimes with our kids and even with me with planning with my family, we're not quite sure what time something is going to be. We don't know when that turkey is going to be finished cooking. So we might be unsure about some things. And then definitely it can be a challenge to predict what will happen, especially if you're going to go somewhere different for the holiday, or it's just, again, that change in routine. Some of our kids especially haven't been through a lot of these holidays. And so they're not sure what the plan is going to be. Or it might be that this year we're going to go to this side of the family's house and next year we'll go to the other side of the family's house. And so that can cause some unsettled feelings because it's hard to predict what will happen. Holidays can also be challenging because there's a lot of sensory overload. And there's a lot of smells and sounds and everything, and then a lot of new people or different expectations. We don't do the same things. We don't maybe act the same ways at times, or those expectations can change. And I know, Adria, you had some great examples of experiencing some sensory overload and just the changes in the expectations. Do you want to share a little bit about your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think not this year, but last year, my family had my sister and her husband, Eric, had her Eric's wife, so or no, excuse me, my brother-in-law Justin, which would have been his older sister, Karina, Eric's sister, they have 2 children, Justin and Karina do. Colin is now 5 and Logan, I think, is 8. But so, and it was Colin, Logan, Justin, Karina, Eric, my sister Janelle, who is married to him, Eric's mother, Griselle, my mom, my dad, me, our 2 dogs, one of which who has passed away now, and then I think some of the neighbors that live in the neighborhood, they came over with their children throughout the holidays too, so it was just a lot. And so there was a lot of noise, and I have sensory processing issues, and one of the chief ways that it impacts me is auditorily. So it was a lot of noise, and I had to at times just escape into the back office at Janelle and Eric's house, my sister and brother-in-law, and just kind of collect myself. Colin, I think he's my nephew. I'm sorry. I'm not as familiar with their side of the family. He has a very keen interest in balls, or he did last year when I saw him. He's like 3.5 maybe. And so he brought all different kinds of balls, soccer balls. Like he would go in the outside with Eric and like shoot basketball, and he had a little stress ball that he would keep in his coat pocket and like, squish it and stuff. And he took it to his room, and I remember one time we were going like to a function, and I just went, like, I didn't mean to take it from him, but I went in the family room and like got his coat and took it and put it in my jacket when we were leaving, and he has enough. And like I just would go, I went to the function, but I kept that little ball with me, and as soon as we got back, I'm like, here, Colin, here's your ball, and he didn't even know it was gone.
Uh-huh. I mean, yeah, that's a great story. Thank you for sharing. But it sounds like that was a lot, like I said, a lot of people, a lot of different things happening that don't normally happen in that space. Maybe, you weren't as familiar with all the people's, that were there and all the things that they were going to be doing. So it was hard to maybe predict what was going to happen and the conversation requirements of being with all those people. So
Yeah, I'm sorry, and I think too, Janelle and Eric understandably are much more familiar with Karina and Justin and their
Mhm.
children. They tend to see them more throughout the year, talk to them on FaceTime. I think the children will open up to Janelle and Eric more than me. And in addition to the neighbors, I'm getting to the point, I'll be honest, where I know the neighbors' names. I at least know who has, and it's funny, I know their animals' names or their pets' names and who has dogs and who doesn't.
Sure.
But and so I'll at least, exchange polite pleasantries and nice to see you. And one kid in the neighborhood is a swimmer, and his name's Kai. I do know that. I grew up swimming, so I would at least talk to Kai about swimming. But it wasn't for me a lot of conversation. It was just hi, nice to see you, and uh,
Yeah,
that
great.
kind of thing. But
Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah. And so that's a perfect example, and kind of that segues into a lot of the things that Adrian and I talked about, and that we were thinking, when we put this presentation together, what we could share to help kids and families, kind of make that what Adrian described as that kind of experience, maybe help get through those times and make things a little bit easier, or help prepare your kids a little more. So we're going to give some strategies and some ideas. I mean, Adria's had, years to kind of come up with what works for her. And so I know some families out there are still trying to figure out what their, what's going to help their children the most. And so hopefully we will just give you a lot of examples today, and then you'll find some things that you'll want to try and that will resonate with your situations. But the first thing we want to talk about is making the unpredictable predictable. Right. So, it just seems like all of a sudden Christmas came so fast. The holidays are here, right? If you're like me, it's like I blinked and, I was ready for Halloween, and now all of a sudden I've got to get the Christmas tree up. So, it's helpful to have a calendar with visual reminders. And this isn't just for a Christmas holiday. I would advocate using a calendar for every day. But especially those times when holidays come, like let's say Labor Day even, and you're not going to have school that day, right? Our week is going to change. There's some special things that are happening. So using a calendar with visual reminders can be really helpful for families to put up. And this is the one on the pink calendar we use at our house, and that's just a thing from the dollar store that I found and I bought, and I printed off pictures just from Google Images and cardstock on my computer. And so families can use that pretty inexpensively. You can create a calendar that's personalized at your house. But also you want to think about the amount of advanced warning that you give depends on your child's needs. So for instance, my child, if I have a 12-year-old now, and if we give her too much warning for some activities, she starts to really kind of just think about them, maybe worrying about some of those things that she doesn't need to worry about because, it's 3 or 4 weeks away still. So sometimes we find it's best to maybe hold off and just give her a couple of days warning. We know what that sweet spot is, or what's going to cause her some anxiety versus what she's going to get really excited about. And so, you need to know your child as far as, do you need to give that that day in advanced warning, a couple of hours notice, or do you need a lot of weeks to talk about it? Adria, is there amount of time that works for you that you like to have advance notice on things?
I do remember that honestly, I'll be honest, it depends on what it is, but I'll
Sure.
give you an example. Like if, for example, I was getting picked up early out of school to go to a dentist appointment or a neurology appointment, I can remember my mom saying like 2 days in advance, okay, Emily used to be one of our childcare providers, nannies, is gonna come get you out of English sixth period because you have to go to the dentist in like on Wednesday, and it would be a Monday. And I'll write you a note, but you got remember that on Wednesday you're gonna have to go to the office before you go to first period because you gotta turn that note in or whatever. If I get asked to give a lecture for a class, and this is now talking about work, but I tell professors to please give me, if they want me to come to their class, please give me as advanced warning as possible, because my availability will,
Sure.
decrease.
Sure. So absolutely, it really does. It depends on the situation and just knowing what your child's needs are. And then also, making a plan with your family and friends. So I know Adria was saying, how her family, they did have a plan as to, we're going to talk in a little bit about, maybe having a room for a quiet area. But you need to talk about activities and expectations with your family and friends if you're getting together. And that's going to, help everybody to know what you need to bring, what are those time frames. Some people aren't the best at making plans. It may be that, it's kind of, there's more spontaneous, but we know that for a lot of our kiddos with autism, that really is important that they have those time frames and that we make a little bit more of a structured plan for them. So it's good for you to be able to have those conversations ahead of time with your family. Also making personal schedules, whether it be just for the day, because like I said, it maybe the day has changed. So as holidays are approaching and school's getting ready to come out or be done, and kids aren't going to be going to school the few days leading up to Christmas, maybe you're going to want to go out and do some holiday shopping. Maybe you're going to be wrapping some gifts. So you might want to put a little schedule up on the refrigerator with some pictures, so that when they get up, they know that, okay, here's what my day is going to look like. I'm going to have breakfast, take my medicine, brush my teeth, get dressed, and then we're going to go shopping. That's different. Then we're going to come home and I'm going to get to play. And then we'll have some lunch. And then maybe we'll take a nap or go walk the dog, have a snack. And then I'm going to have some time to wrap some presents for the family. And then so it's just really nice. You can do these pretty quickly. Like I said, inexpensively, just printing off Google Images. But that really gives kids a sense of what their day is going to look like. You can do some simple first, next, then schedules if that helps too with your kids. You could just do something written. Maybe your kiddos don't need pictures. Maybe you yourself want to write out kind of what that day is going to look like. Just a list or something, just so that kind of keep everybody on track. So then, like I talked about earlier, we want to decide what's the plan for the holidays. This is the biggest thing is thinking ahead of time, making a plan. So, even though plans can change, we all have to be a little bit flexible, but we want a good place to start. So again, talking to your family members also about what is autism. Maybe they haven't been around your child before. You might be seeing some distant relatives and you want to make sure that everybody's kind of prepared for the different needs that your child might have so everyone can be comfortable. Maybe it's decided that, my child really struggles with sitting at a big meal with all these people around them. So they're going to, maybe that's not what we're going to emphasize this year, that we want our child to just, be comfortable. They're going to go sit and watch a movie while we all have the big meal at the table. We just want everybody to be on the same page for what those expectations are going to be so everyone can be comfortable. You also, like Adria had said, have a designated calm space. I thought this was amazing when she was talking about, they had a back office in their family's house. I was thinking about with my family, we really honestly didn't plan this. It just kind of happened. But when we go up to my aunt and uncle's house, their bedroom has a TV in it. They have like a chaise lounge in the bed. That tends to be the quiet room for many of the children. So we have 7 kids in our family, with the cousins all together, and sometimes a few of them need just some quiet, calm time. So they end up gathering in my aunt and uncle's bedroom. The kind of the rules are no jumping on the bed. It's a calm area. That's the expectation. But every once in a while, whoever needs some time away from the chaos, if you can't find one of the kids, you go in that room and you'll find them, and they'll just be chilling, maybe reading a book, maybe listening to some music, maybe watching a little TV, but it's a good place to get away. And everybody kind of knows that that's what's expected. And then always making sure that you pack a backpack with a few of your favorite things, right? So pack some favorite toys. Adria had mentioned was it a squishy ball or a koosh ball that you had found, but it really kind of helped you through?
Granted, it was my little cousins, I believe he
Yeah.
is to me. That's 5, but I'm like, stress ball, I'll take it.
There you go. We got to make sure we got plenty of those to go around. But bringing, even a favorite blanket, a pillow, fidgets, anything that's comfortable can always be helpful. So helping your child pack that bag ahead of time too, can help prepare them even for the event that's coming, and they can know that they've got this stuff that if they need it, they can go get that Squishmallow or whatever toy they need. Also thinking about the visual sequence of events. When we have different activities that happen, maybe it's you're going to decorate the Christmas tree if you haven't done that yet in your house. What all do I have to be included in? What are the steps? When do I know that I'm going to be finished? Because some of the kids don't have a lot of tolerance for, standing around as we're thinking about, oh, what should we do now? What should we do next? So, maybe we just want to do a little sequence. First, we're going to put the tree up. We're going to put the lights on it, ornaments. Then we're going to get to have some hot chocolate and watch a favorite movie or something. That's might be your new routine that you want to create around the holidays for your kids. Because we all want to have routines and memories that we can have year after year, that we can spend as a family. And then I love to use paint chips because they are nicely laid out. They're colorful. We can use our favorite colors. But I write sequences on paint chips all the time. So maybe for Thanksgiving, you were going to drive to Grandma and Grandpa's house. You're going to say hello to your family. You're going to see these people if you know who's going to be there. You're going to eat dinner, and then you're going to play games after dinner. So the kids know what those expectations are for the day. Anything else that I have left off as far as making a plan, Adria, that you wanted to add before we move on?
I think we're good, yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about all the expectations around the holidays, right? Because we talked about how they can be unpredictable, they're a change, there's something different. So there's something called the hidden curriculum rules. Those are the rules that they're not written down anywhere necessarily. They're things that people tend to pick up. But sometimes our kids need some more specific instruction about those. And so thinking about before the holiday comes up, it's like whenever you think to yourself, oh man, I didn't think I'd have to tell you that, or I thought you would already have known that. Those are the things that are the hidden curriculum rules that we need to tell each other. So for some examples would be at Halloween, you only knock on a door with a porch light on. That's a good rule of thumb to have if your kids are going out trick-or-treating. You only go to a house one time. Even if it's giving away they're giving away your favorite candy, you're still only supposed to go to that house one time and then move on to another house. At Christmas, when you give a gift, it's considered bad manners to tell the person how much the gift cost or if you are re-gifting it, right? Nobody needs to discuss that. And then another example would be at St. Patrick's Day. We tease people about getting pinched if you don't wear green, but it is not okay to pinch a stranger or someone you don't know if they're not wearing green. That's not going to end well. So we want to make sure that, especially if you have a very rule-oriented child who really, make sure that they're following along and they want to follow along with all those expectations for the different holidays, that you kind of give them some of those extra hidden curriculum rules. We want to review social expectations for activities. So sometimes we are expected to do activities with family and friends. So you might need to, again, that goes with that planning ahead. Like maybe your job is going to be to we would like you to participate in 2 activities with the family, and then you can have a break time, right? But then sometimes we can do things by ourselves. And then what activities does your child like to do? Maybe they have a favorite craft that they could share with their cousins when they get together. Or maybe there's a special movie or a game or sports or something that you want to make sure that they're getting something, or the family is involved in doing something that your child enjoys. So that is also what helps with that planning ahead. Looking at pictures from the past, scrapbooks are great things to pull out throughout the year, but especially, this time of year with Christmas coming and the holidays, looking back at what activities have we done? What are the feelings of those activities? I know, some kids forget that it gets really cold and we can't do a lot of things outside. And if you have a kiddo who's an outside kid, how are you going to navigate that? And so you want to think about, how did things feel both sensory wise when it's cold out in the snow, but also, what brought you joy? What made you happy? Who are the people? Maybe look through those pictures of people you haven't seen in a year or two and show kids the pictures ahead of time. Adria, do you have any special things that you do like to prepare for holidays as far as looking at pictures, or do you watch home movies? Do you ever do any of that?
Not home movies necessarily, but my sister and I, we always like watching Miracle on 34th Street with Mara Wilson.
Okay.
I don't know how old your children are, but I may be dating myself by saying that.
Oh no, that's great. Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing is that's a tradition you have, right? You always like to watch that movie. So that's going to invoke, I could see it, the smile on your face that, you enjoy, and you might look forward to that every year. So maybe reminding your kids that these are the fun things that we're going to we're going to get to do this next, the next couple of weeks or something like that. So,
And yeah, and just certain Christmas movies and The Grinch and what have you. Yeah.
that's great. Another thing that is very helpful for some people is our social stories, right? So a social narrative is a social story. Sometimes we call it a story, but it's a short story about what to expect, how to behave, and how people will feel, right? So it gives your kids a sense of how to predict what's going to happen in this situation. So it's written in first person at the child's language level. It often includes pictures, but if your child is an independent reader, you can just write it out. I've even written social stories out on sticky notes for a kiddo. One time it was, I was in school and it was storming and we weren't, expecting this really bad storm. And he was very scared of storms. And he was struggling to go on with what he was going to be doing in class right then. So I wrote a social story about, it's stormy outside, but we're safe inside. And if it's loud, I can put my headphones on. If I hear thunder, I can go sit in the hallway in the beanbag chair, if I feel uncomfortable. So just kind of writing out what I can do and what I might feel, and that's okay. My teacher will be happy that I am making good choices, or that I'm, if I go out in the hallway, because I know that that's the best place for me. So you could write a social story about, mom and dad will be right there. They will be able to help me if I have questions or if I feel uncomfortable or something. I can do this. So it lets kids know what's expected, what other people might be doing, and that it's things are going to be okay. It's a good thing. It's usually written in a very positive way. So there are some examples that you can get online. I'm going to try one more time. Nope. I am going to switch screens because Autism Little Learners, if any of you have young children, I would say preschool through maybe early, middle elementary, depending on, you can look at these stories and see if it's appropriate for your child. But Autism Little Learners has a bunch of social stories for free online that you can print off for your kids. So I want to show you the example of visiting Santa. So I'm going to stop sharing and then I'm going to pull it up. Hopefully this works. Okay. Adria, are you seeing it?
I'm seeing it.
Okay, so this is going to see Santa. This is just a simple example of a social story. It says, I'm going to visit Santa. I might need to wait in line when I see Santa. Santa usually has helpers with him. when it's my turn, I can sit on Santa's lap and stand by him. I can give Santa my letter. Sometimes Santa's helpers will take pictures. I can try to smile. When I'm done, I can say goodbye to Santa. And so they might have lots of different versions. There's lots of different cultural things we want to look at. And so she tries to have a variety to fit everyone's needs. So I really recommend Autism Little Learners if you are looking for social stories for your younger children. All right, let's get back to the presentation. And of course, this is where my technology skills are put in. Okay, there we go. Okay. Are we back, Adria?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Also at the Indiana Resource Center for Autism, at our website, we have others. If you look under holiday and celebrations, we also have some social stories that you might find helpful. This is an example of one that we have for Easter. So we've tried to have a couple of different holidays represented in our social stories. There are also some examples of little songs. I don't know about other people's kids, but my child, music is one of the things that she connects with. It really helps her memory. She remembers things. She loves music. She loves songs. So if you have a kiddo who's into food and songs and Thanksgiving, this is a great example of a Thanksgiving food song that I found. It kind of also helps on core words if you're working on some language skills with your kiddos. But I'm going to play just an example of this one. This is on YouTube.
I like to eat on Thanksgiving with my family. I like turkey and mashed potatoes covered in gravy. I like corn and I like stuffing and I like pumpkin pie. I like biscuits and apple cider, and that is the reason why.
So this song, it goes on for 2 minutes. I will tell you, if you listen to it too many times, it's going to get stuck in your ear. It's one of those little earworm songs, but you could learn the tune and you could replace it with the foods that your child likes to eat. So it might give them something to sing right before, a meal or something to kind of prepare them for, it's time to eat, especially if they have some food challenges. Adria, do you have anything about social stories or songs or anything that you wanted to share?
Not particularly. I'll be honest, I didn't really use social stories
Right.
as a child. I know that they can be customized to numerous experiences and to certainly the individual child. I did not use them, but
And-
yeah, I know that they are very common in children.
And I'm so glad you said that, Adria, because as we were talking, like you said, you are a very auditory person. And so you didn't use as many visuals, but you talked through a lot of things. Is that correct? And so even,
Yes.
Thinking about families, if you do have a kiddo, it might be that if you're like me, sometimes talking with our kids about sometimes I maybe over complicate things at times. So I know I've used social stories myself as a parent just to be able to simplify kind of how I'm saying it. And so it might be that, some parents out there, these are supports that you can use for yourself to just look at. And then it might give you some ideas about how to discuss it with your child in a different way or something if you want to try that. So yeah, I think that's a great point, is that we want to show you lots of different options. And so even with the song, maybe that's something different. Maybe your child is a musical person, so here's the songs that you can use. My child's caregiver, she made a song one time, it was one of her teachers, about going to the bathroom, and they just created this sequence song. And even to this day, Gigi will still sing it. She's 12 years old, and I think she learned it when she was 4 or 5. And so it just sticks with her, and she'll sing, flush. I don't even remember how it goes. It's flush and wipe and wash your hands and be on your way. That kind of mixed up with we love Daniel Tiger at our house too. So Daniel Tiger's got a lot of good songs, but music sometimes, or just like a little rhyming poem or something, can help kids. So you have to know what works for your child. Okay, So let's move on to a to-do list is always good for that event. So like I said, some of the kids want to know when it's going to be over. When is it time to come home? Or maybe they're super excited about going trick-or-treating and you need to let them know when it's time to come in and stop trick-or-treating. So you can write on a piece of paper, here's what you're going to do. This example is I'm going to put on my costume. I'm going to go to Tim's house. I'm going to go to Sue's house. I'm going to go to Jack's house. I'm going to eat 3 pieces of candy. And then we're going to have to save the rest for tomorrow. Then I'm going to come home and then I can pass out candy at home, but I'll be done trick-or-treating for that evening. So, and you can use this for any holiday that you're going to. Making a list can be helpful. Sometimes, again, that video modeling, watching how we do something. This is an example of a video that it's on YouTube, and it gives them an example of how to trick or treat. So they just practiced it with their friends. So I'm gonna move.
Hey guys, happy Halloween. Today I'm going to show you how you can go trick or treat. So the first thing you need to do is that you need your costume and a bucket. And then when you head out your house, you go to your neighbor's house and say they trick or treat after you knock. And when your neighbor gives you candy, you say thank you and happy Halloween. And then you go to another house until it is time to go.
And so these kids were just practicing at the clinic that made this video. And that's something that you can do at home if maybe your kids like to use the iPad, right? Talk about dating ourselves, Adria. But so many kids are into using iPads and videotaping everything now. And I'll still say, I'm recording or something, but they, whatever it is that they use, they can make movies about the holidays. You can get them involved, and that just gets them more comfortable in the activities that they're doing. Another thing is practicing, right? Practicing gifts. We need to practice opening gifts, taking turns, giving phrases to say thank you, what to say and do if you don't like a gift. That's always a big one. Manners. I know, Adria, you had some comments that when we were talking, you had said, really, your parents did a great job of modeling with you and kind of telling you what the expectations were. You felt like that you were taught like those manners and things were important in your family, right?
Yes, and it wasn't just manners, it was generalization of social skills and social behaviors were consistently practiced both at home and in public from a very young age. And I mean, along with that, I'll say that a routine was established very young, probably as early as 3.5, and consistent expectation of involvement in family, the family life. That, okay, Adria, get your lunchbox. Okay, Adria, go get your shoes so daddy can put your shoes on. That sort of thing.
Yeah. And so the same thing, like you just said, I love how you mentioned like the expectation of being involved in all the family things. So, we open gifts at Christmas, but we also open gifts at each other's birthdays. If you celebrate birthdays and you have presents and it's a big birthday party or something, it's understanding that at a birthday party, it's one person's birthday. And so one person is going to be opening gifts. At the Christmas holiday, each person is going to get different gifts, right? And so I know that, for us, it was a little bit of a challenge when it was a birthday party. And so some of the other cousins, wanted to understand that only one of the kids was getting a birthday present, right? And the other cousins were going to watch and we're going to be excited about what we get, but there won't be a present for us to open because it's Eli's birthday and not Gigi's birthday today. So those are things that we want to practice because that can really be different, that change can be difficult for kids. And so as they practice year after year and you start at a young age, like Adria was saying, it just gets easier. We want to think about too, when we go to activities, we talked a little bit about packing a backpack, but bringing waiting activities. because that's another thing. I mean, when we're going to family holidays and activities, sometimes it doesn't start right away. Sometimes that turkey takes a little bit longer. We cannot say we're going to eat exactly at 1 p.m. It's possible the turkey is not done at that point. So you want to make sure that you bring activities that are engaging or calming or help with transitions. So being specific about what you need to bring along with your kids. And we want to consider the sensory experiences. Oh, and I have to point out that Mr. T is in the picture. If you can see Adria's therapy dog, he is amazing. And so I'm so glad that you were able to see him on there, because he comes to the office and we all love to see him. So, and Mr. T, I'm gonna totally go off script now. But Adria, Mr. T experiences holidays with you as well, I'm assuming.
He does.
And so thinking about, how he is integrated into all those sensory experiences with the food, and he smells all the yummy food cooking, or there's a lot more people around. Can you talk a little bit about how you and Mr. T maybe interact at the holidays, or how is he helpful to you during the holidays?
Honestly, the holidays for me and for Thomas are kind of a break,
Okay.
because I'm the one that primarily handles Thomas, and when I'm home with my parents and with family, they are there to support me. So Thomas, we might go to like the Christmas market in Carmel. This is just for families out of Indiana, correct?
Yeah, but yes, we do in Carmel, Indiana. Yes, there's a holiday market.
Okay, I
yes.
didn't know if this was open to the whole like country, and people were like, what is Carmel, Indiana?
Fair enough, yeah.
And usually, if I'm with Janelle and Eric and my parents, they know me enough that Thomas can sit on the couch and watch CNN.
He gets a break.
Sit in his crate and chew his Nylabone.
There you go.
But when I'm out in the community in Bloomington, living my life and going to work and going to appointments and stuff, that's, his purpose, the purpose of a service dog is to enhance independence, and, freedom for individuals with developmental disabilities, whatever that developmental disability be. And when I am in Bloomington, my parents live in Indianapolis. So I'm away from mommy and daddy now, which is what parents typically aim for young people. So and then I have three, I'm going into my life now, but I have three college students, that are IU students that have some aspect of a major where they need to support, I think most of them are healthcare, but they want to go into some field, they have to work with me. My role is you have to have some interest in engaging with children, teens, or adults with developmental disability. And they work doing direct care multiple times a week. Pretty good girls still, so.
Yeah. Well, I think that's, it shows that you're learning all of the strategies, right, that you need, and that you and Mr. T are developing that life where you can be as independent as you absolutely want to be. And so when you're with your family, they know you well and they can support you, and they might have experienced something when I'm sure the first time you went to that Christmas market in Carmel, that there's a lot going on at that market. There's a lot, yeah. And so having people who know you well could maybe have thought ahead of time of like, oh, here, I think this might help you, or you might help make you more comfortable during it while you were there. But we want to think about those sensory experiences that our kids are going to be walking into, or that we are creating. And so that comes down to smells, the food that we cook, maybe wanting to prepare ahead of time some food that you're going to eat. So just like if you're going to go out to a restaurant, or you're going to want to look at that menu ahead of time. If you're going to go to one of those Christmas markets, you're going to maybe want to have a sense of, okay, I know I'm going to be able to get something that I like to eat there, or I want to bring a snack because there may not be something I want to eat there, but other people will be eating. You also want to think about if the house is full of those smells, you might need to step out for some fresh air breaks, right? That's okay. Your kids might need to go run around outside a little bit, not for the fresh air, but just because of the sensory needs of the smells in the house. Thinking about the sounds, bringing headphones or earbuds for music, or we've talked a lot about having that quiet place to go to. And then thinking about the environment. I mean, I don't know about you, Adria. I know when I go someplace new, I like to look at pictures if I can. I go to YouTube and I see if there's images of something. For me, I get stressed about parking. So I always want to know, like, where's the parking? What does the place look like so I know I can find it. But we also now, for my daughter, we will look through the pictures of the places that we're going to be going to just kind of give her some, heads up to get a mental picture in her, in her head of where we're going. You might want to drive by someplace or visit it a few times before a big event happens. That can be helpful so kids can see the settings. And then identify a safe place to hang out, or, again, whether it's a quiet place or it's a safe place that you can go to if you need to get away from things. Any other sensory thoughts there that you want to share, Adria?
Well, and also, this is kind of delving into a different area of this subject, but
Uh-huh.
you have to think too, the person who primarily handles Thomas is me,
Mhm.
not my parents. They might take him potty, they might take him for a walk around the block, but the person who primarily cues and handles and, redirects him is me.
Mhm.
So if you're dealing, and I don't know that I've disclosed this yet or not, maybe I have, but if you have a young adult that has diagnosis of autism and cerebral palsy from birth, as well as a learning disability, you're taking, and you decide to take the dog, even though these are very highly trained dogs, to an environment like Carmel, Indiana Christmas Market, that is a very sensory laden environment.
Mhm.
And can that young person with autism, with auditory sensory overload potential, focus on cueing a dog, redirecting a dog, engaging in social conversation, looking individuals in the eye, processing language, plus looking at distractions and whatever, or stuff that the dog shouldn't be getting into per, service dog etiquette training? That's a
Sure.
lot.
Sure.
So you've got to figure out, when can you handle the dog, and when would it be better that the dog just chill?
Sure. And I think that's I love that you said that. Like, you're thinking about how many things that you have to do without thinking about it, right? Within a split second, you're having that conversation. You're watching out for safety things for the dog. There's all kinds of stuff happening all at one time. And I think, we all have to think about that when we're in busy, crowded situations, that there's a lot more that we have to process. And so you want to make sure that, you have thought ahead of time about who's going, what's going to be the safest experience for everybody when you go into that holiday environment or something. Continuing on with food, because I know as a therapist, I would get a lot of questions about food issues. Kids have food sensitivities. They struggle with trying new foods. They have limited, preferences when it comes to food. So you want to think about that, because food is such a big part of all kinds of holiday celebrations, Christmases, Thanksgiving, obviously birthday celebrations, Easter. I mean, probably any month of the year, every family culture, everything has different foods that are really important to your experience for that holiday. So it might be that you want to bring food for your child to eat, because now is not the time to try something new. With all those other things happening, it's not the best time to say, oh, just take one bite, just take one bite. You don't want to get into that uncomfortable situation with your child at that point. We can practice saying no, thank you. It's okay to say no. Maybe an aunt or someone is offering you something that you don't like. You want to practice and then be able to say no, thank you. Bring a favorite cup or plate. That might help with the times, with the meal times. Make a plan for when you can leave the table. Like I said earlier, some of our kids, it's really difficult to sit through an entire meal. And if we want to have a pleasant experience for everybody, I don't want to have to be, constantly redirecting my child at the table. I don't want that to get very uncomfortable for her and myself. So we might just say, okay, whether we set a timer or we say, when you're finished eating, then you can go and do something else. And we have that planned already. So it doesn't become that stressful moment as a parent when you're looking around thinking, oh my gosh, what are people thinking? What's going to happen? What's that expectation that grandma and grandpa have of their grandchild at the table? We want to make sure everybody's comfortable so that we can have a pleasant meal. And then you want maybe to have a visual for good manners or topics of conversation if your child needs that. Again, it might be pictures, it might be a sticky note of just things to talk about. Or remember, these are things you can tell people about when we have our meal together. So those are just some ideas of how to help to have a pleasant large meal at a gathering or at a celebration. We always need to be practicing, right? Teaching socially appropriate behaviors throughout the year. So we've talked about all the different holidays throughout the year are great times to practice. Adria, I know you really, enforce that it's all through your life, starting at a very young age. And then also every time you went into the community, same expectations, right? It can become, I think it's hard for some of the kids to understand when is it not okay or when do I not have to do this, right? And when do I have to do this? We want to maybe have some consistent expectations. I know for some of the students I've worked with and for my child in particular, sometimes the teasing, we tease a lot in a family situation, but you can't tease with strangers or you can't tease as much with people you don't know very well. So you want to make sure that kind of they know what those socially appropriate behaviors are and what those expectations are. And we might need to make sure that we're clear with our kids. And then social skills can be modeled both at home and in the community and practiced. And it's very important for generalization purposes. We talk a lot about generalizing to different environments, different places, because the more kids experience things, the more it can be overwhelming. But also we want to find those places that are they can start to relate things to. So, if Adria likes to go to the Christmas market in Carmel, I've been to the Christmas market in Chicago. Have you been to the Christmas market downtown Chicago, Adria?
No, I saw Wicked in Chicago. I never
Okay,
been.
yeah, excellent. Yeah, so I have not been to the Christmas market in Carmel, Indiana, like she was talking about. So, but my guess is both of those Christmas markets, there are some similarities to them. So if either of us
Yes.
go to the other one, we're going to start to generalize and have some similar expectations for those Christmas markets. So that's what we want to try to create for our kids. Okay, and so finally, then how am I doing? So we have these big holiday events. We have all these social expectations happening. We want to make sure that everybody's doing well. Some kids need to know, right? We need to check in and say, hey, you're doing a great job. I'm so proud of you, or I'm so glad you're feeling comfortable. And so maybe it's first we have that meal together, and then you can have a break and you can have an iPad time. So maybe your kiddos need to use a first then kind of reinforcement thing. Always have an exit plan. There's always going to be a time when it's just like, we hit that wall. I'm sure I feel that, Adria. I'm guessing you felt that in times in your life when you're
Yes.
like, I'm done. I'm out. So
Yes.
what will finish look like? Be very clear. Okay. When we know our child and we know when we get to this point, this is finished, right? This is time to leave. Tell our kids, when is it going to be time to leave? Like, we're going to stay until about 7 o'clock. And if your child needs that clear, you have 3 hours. I appreciate the 3 hours that we're going to be here, and then it's going to be time to leave. And then what's the emergency plan? Because we always need to have that plan B to fall back on. Some kids need a countdown. Maybe they're having such an amazing time and in this celebration that we're at, or this holiday event, and they don't want to leave, right? But we're going to have to leave. So using a countdown, whether it be you put down the little numbers with their favorite potato head, or you cross out some numbers, or you just simply use a timer, but something to let kids know that, hey, we're getting close to the end. And then heads up, there's always going to be a change, right? Something happens. We were planning on going to see the movie. I'm sure, a lot of people are in Moana 2 has come out. If your kids have not seen that already, maybe we want to go see Moana for the holidays. Well, we wanted to go see the 2:00 show, but it's sold out. So now what's our next plan going to be? So there's going to be a change. We want to make sure that kids are prepared for that. And then be ready to revise the plan. So sometimes we think about it, or you might see with your kids at school, they have all of these fancy laminated things, but sometimes we just need to do with what we have. So this is my example of when my husband wanted to be social. I will be honest, he's the extrovert in the family. I'm more the introvert. And we wanted to go out with a group of people to Chuck E. Cheese for the afternoon. And that is my least favorite place to go. As far as talk about sensory overload for me, it's hard to get through an hour at Chuck E. Cheese. And my daughter was struggling. So I decided to take, literally, this is the picture. This is our paper plate from Chuck E. Cheese. And this was probably 8 years ago or more. Took the picture, took the plate, flipped it over. I drew that number 1 is the train. I think there was a train there. Number 2 is the horse ride. Number 3 was the apple game. And number 4 was we were going to get some ice cream. It was Dippin' Dots. And then we were going to go. And that was the deal. We saw that she was struggling. I was struggling. We made a plan. Here's what we're going to do. Everybody agreed to the plan. And then we were able to move on. We had a lovely time with the group we were with. But we also knew when our time at Chuck E. Cheese was going to come to an end. So sometimes you just need to grab whatever, a napkin, plate, anything you have, you can make a little schedule on. And then I think defining fun is really important to remember during the holidays. What are the expectations for an enjoyable time? And this actually could be different for everyone, right? I'm sure, Adria, your idea of some fun holiday activities differs from other people in your family or from me. So we all want to plan to be flexible. And so just make sure that, you have appropriate expectations for everyone in the family. And I don't want to move on too quickly yet. So Adria, speaking to that, are there things that you would you feel comfortable sharing with us that you would say maybe you wouldn't consider fun during the holidays that maybe other people do, or have you ever run into this situation? Or what is can you give us an example of a really, what do you enjoy? You talked about watching a movie. What do you enjoy during the holidays? What are activities that you find to be fun?
Janelle, I will give you an example. Janelle and Eric, they like to give parties. They like to entertain, like dinner parties, and have people over. I am expected to some degree to be social, to be part of the gathering, but there will come a point at which I'll say, thank you for coming. It was very nice to see you. And just go to the back office and play on my phone or text friends or watch, I don't know, YouTube videos. I watch YouTube videos about, medical disorders and, just kind of be a nerd back there. One example, and this isn't fun, but it's common right now in our family, is when Benny or Ava, Benny is their children, Eric and Janelle, my sister, their children. Benny is 2, Ava is now almost 9 months. When they start crying and needing attention, they're sweet as can be, but that crying, if it doesn't settle down in a couple of minutes, I'm like, okay. And of course you can't tell a baby, like, I've had enough of you and whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, so that's a great, that's part of it is maybe it's not that you don't want to have that family fun, but that crying and everything, you might just need a little bit of a break, from the little ones in the family. And then sometimes it sounds like, your amount of time that you are happy and comfortable to be in that party might be a little bit shorter than the rest of your family, and that's okay, right? So we want to just make sure that everyone is having a good time, but adjust your expectations to meet everybody's needs and be flexible with that. Thanks for sharing that, Adria. And so finally, here as we're starting to wrap up, remember that it's helpful to put events on calendars. That's one tip around any holiday. Reviewing expectations and the schedule of what is going to happen during that celebration. Prepare to have favorite and needed items. Know the exit plan. And then be ready to have fun and make sure that we are all creating great, wonderful holiday memories. So with that, Adria, is there anything else that you wanted to share around the holidays? Tips for families?
Not around the holidays specifically. I just must say my favorite slide that I saw was the journalization of social skills slide. I mean, that can be practiced during the holidays, that can be practiced all year. And I think that's one of the most important things for families of children with autism to really remember, and one of the most beneficial, honestly. I think what they learn in speech language or what they learn in the special ed department or at school, the home is a classroom, the community is a classroom. So waiting in line at the grocery, having dinner out at, I don't know, Uptown Cafe or O'Charlie's, that becomes an opportunity. So just almost any opportunity to generalize you can get. People, honestly, and I'm sorry, I honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I don't mean to offend you at all, but people ask me all the time when I'm out working with my service dog, Thomas, are you done yet? Is he doing any better? Or when will he be done? And yes, service dogs, they do graduate training at about 2.5 years old. But then it becomes the client or the family's responsibility to maintain the training in that dog. And training is 2 to 3 times a day for 10-minute sessions, all throughout the working career of the dog. So honestly, what I really want to tell them is never.
Yeah. And you see, and that's, I know, as the conversations we've had together, I know you see like every opportunity as like you said, a learning opportunity. We're constantly growing. We're constantly finding ways to, improve ourselves as far as just learning about ourselves, what helps us to have that happy life and to enjoy those activities that we want to all enjoy. So I appreciate that. If anybody would have any questions, we always welcome, we encourage you to check out the website of the Indiana Institute on Disability and Community. And then specifically, Adria and I both work through the Indiana Resource Center for Autism. So you can find ways to get in contact with us through that, and then email us if you ever have any questions or anything. So, but hopefully you found some helpful hints to help make your holidays just more special and more memorable. And I hope that we wish you all happy holidays, no matter what celebration you're having throughout the year. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and turn it back over to Lisa and Jill.
Adria and Amy, thank you so much for sharing all those ideas. And Amy, what a good point you made right in the beginning, that holidays are all through the year and schedule changes and learning how to plan those out. Thinking about the 4th of July, thinking about other cultural holidays, even something that just maybe your own family celebrates uniquely. And that's another good point. What our holiday looks like might look very different from someone else's experience. So preparing, giving support, planning to have times to step out. um, and particularly knowing those expectations. So we just thank you both so much for coming. We do not have any questions on this side. Jill, do you have any questions on the Facebook Live side?
No, but we do have a couple thank yous in our Facebook Live chat. So thank you so much to the both of you for being here and presenting this today. Very valuable information. I've learned a lot, and our viewers have learned a lot too today. So thank you so much.
Thank
I
you so
do
much
have
for
our
having
QR
us.
code. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said thank you so much for having us.
Thank
Not
you.
a problem. I do have our QR code up for anyone that was not able to capture that when we first got on today. Those of you that are on our Facebook Live page, it is the first link that is the tiny URL. Also, if you are a viewer that is watching this in the afterplay, please, we ask that you also fill out the sign in and that survey for us as well, because even though you're watching this on an afterplay, we still need to gather that information as well. Ladies, it was just an absolute pleasure to close out the year to this wonderful information. I greatly appreciate all of you being here. Lisa, do you have any other questions or anything?
I do not. Adria and Amy, thank you so much. And this will help families and individuals get ideas on how to hopefully have smoother holidays, no matter what the holiday is for each individual or family. So thank you both so much. And thank you for being part of the last webinar for 2024 for us here at InSource. And we hope that individuals will visit our website at insource.org and go to our YouTube channel, look at our trainings and our material also. So thank you both so much. And Jill, that's all I have.
Thank you, Lisa. I would like to just put a bug in everybody's ear. On Monday at 1 p.m., we will be having a special webinar that as a parent of a child with a disability, you really would want to be here, because it's going to be on a discussion about dispute resolution. And I highly encourage you to tune in on Monday at 1 o'clock to hear our guest speakers discuss that. And it's going to be about a survey that is being ran right now for our parents. And then we will have one more webinar after that, if I remember correctly. And then we will close out the year. It's been a wonderful year. We've had a lot of speakers. We've had a lot of change. Expect for there to be more webinars, even more webinars next year. And hopefully we can ask these two lovely ladies to maybe even come back maybe in November before the holidays start again next year. Just as a reminder that we do need some of these tips for our kids and our young adults that are in our life. So, and they're not just for, even our kids and young adults, it's even for us as we get older. Some of that information was very helpful. I particularly enjoyed the calendar as a mom with a young adult. Oh, I say young adult, he's 28. I still use calendars for him, but and times, in 3 hours or in 2 hours, those types of scenarios we still use, but it's always a nice reminder to continue to use those, even though they may have exited school, or they may have exited their education and in that workforce. So thank you so much.
And Jill, thank you for reminding me we do have another webinar in 2024. I had forgotten about that, and that will be a really important webinar for families to take part in and individuals to take part in. Thank you for reminding me about that.
Not a problem, not a problem. So I would like to say that we will see you in 2025, but we do have a couple more webinars. So please feel free to catch us again, either on a live webinar or on the replay. But ladies, thank you again. It was an absolute pleasure having you both here today. And Lisa, you're just a jewel for my my co-host. So thank you. But at this time, I do not have any questions. Peggy says that she really received some very helpful tips. So thank you very much. But at this time, we will say goodbye and everyone have a safe and pleasant time at the end of this year and come back and we'll see how 2025, how we thrive in 2025. Ladies, have a great
Thank
day.
you
and thank you.
all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.